to see everyone on this post-Thanksgiving Sunday. I hope you've all been well. I hope you've been taking care of your heart and your mind over this past month. It's been a while since I've seen you, but I do want to acknowledge that, I'm cognizant of the fact that the world has changed in some pretty extreme ways since I last saw you, and since we've been kind of observing the events in the world in Israel, Gaza, India, United States. It's just, there's really no spot on the globe that isn't in some extreme form of how would I say, suffering, if you will. Also just wanted to just say really want to appreciate you for continuing to show up here at the Sunday Sitting Group and to kind of demonstrate your commitment to, to the InsightLA community, as well as to demonstrate this commitment that you have to your ongoing exploration as to what it means to be awake and what it means to be aligned and what it means to be willing to explore what it means to really live as full a life as we can. And I don't think any of us have really figured it out, but I think that's what we're here for, is to just to really see what the possibilities are for ourselves individually and collectively. So yeah, I'm really just kind of looking forward to the time today and to see what we can explore together. I wanted to know, is there a moderator here? I think that maybe.
Hi, I'm Julia. Nice to meet you.
Hi, Julia. Nice to meet you too. I wasn't sure if I was going to have a moderator today or not, but I'm glad you're here.
Let me know if I can help at any point. I'll be here.
Did you have anything you needed to share with the group or anything like that?
No, I think I wasn't aware. I'm so glad you're here, but I did tell somebody it was Trudy today. So I'm sorry for who I told that information to. So glad you're here, and I'll make an announcement towards the end.
No problem. No problem. I'm really glad you're here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
What was your name again?
I'm Julia.
Julia. Your name says hi on this.
I know. The insight. Hi.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Julia.
Thank you, Thomas.
So I really I would love to have a moment of reflection. Really, actually, what I'd like to do is hear you. Would everybody be okay? Maybe if to those of you who are willing, just to unmute yourself and say hello, maybe just share what brings you to InsightLA this morning. Maybe something that you hope to connect with or explore.
Hi. Good to see you again. I came because I like what you have to say and I enjoy what you present. So I'm so glad you're here.
Well, thank you, Liz. It's really good to see you. Really good to see you. Thank you. And I'm just kind of opening this up for those who would just like to say hello or share maybe where you're from, what brings you here today, just to kind of help me jumpstart some sense of being connected with you. We could definitely just go right in and jump into meditation, but I really feel a need to kind of feel a little more connected. So whoever would like to share anything next, please do. I'd be happy to hear from you.
Hi, Thomas.
Hey, Effie, good to see you.
I think we're already connected. I just wanted to say hi.
Yeah. It's good to see your face.
I'm looking forward to sitting with you today.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Love you.
Yeah, thank you. Love you too.
Okay, bye-bye.
Believe it or not, this is helping me immensely. I'm starting to perk up a little bit. Connecting body, mind, and spirit and heart from Gabby. Thank you. Anyone else want to dare to unmute yourself and bring your voice into the space?
I'm Sabrina, and I am just grateful to have this forum this morning, try to get a little peace, like you said, with everything going on in the world.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Sabrina. Thank you so much. Thank you. We'll start meditation in about 2 or 3 minutes, but in that time, if anyone feels something emergent that you'd like to unmute yourself and share, I encourage you to do it. I think Bernard was going to do something.
Maybe you saw me trying to figure out how to organize my thoughts. Yeah, I'm dealing with that whole thing about what one of the foundations of mindfulness is, noticing how you react to things we like, we dislike, or we don't feel either. We feel neutral. And so often I find my expectations to be disappointed. And I'm just trying to say that's okay with me. And I just hope that really is okay with me, and I'm not just kidding myself.
Right. Well, dissatisfaction, disappointment is the first noble truth.
Yes.
And when we are able to reconnect with that, although the circumstances are not ideal, but when we're able to come back to that, it's like, wow, the Dharma is true.
Yeah, one thing I heard was that every time we move, we're going from discomfort to comfort. Like every time we change position.
Yeah. And then we get dissatisfied with the comfort that we found, and then we're back in discomfort again.
Yeah. Like I want to get into bed so badly in the evening. And then in the morning, I'm laying in bed. And what gets me out of bed is the discomfort and restlessness of the morning. You're thinking, well, I got to do this, I got to do that. I should get moving. And to get away from that discomfort, I get up and start moving.
Yeah, and some people who are in partnerships, what motivates them to get out of bed is the back end of a hard heel. You know what I mean? So yeah, some people get a little more help.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Bernard, thank you so much. And
Sure.
we have time for one other person who wants
Thanks.
to share anything. Thank you, Bernard. One other person who wants to just bring your voice in before we go into our meditation.
Thomas, hi, it's Michelle.
Michelle, hello, welcome. Good morning to you.
Thank you. I haven't been here in a long time. I'm in a group working on the Artist's Way, but we have today off, so I thought I'd jump in. I'm sorry I was late. I'm just having a really hard time, and I don't know if anyone brought this up, dealing with what's going on in this country, and especially between Israel and Palestine. I don't need to talk about politics. I'm just so unsettled. And it feels so difficult to me.
Yeah.
To live with and see on both sides, as a Jewish woman, on both sides, what's going on. And I'm in other sanghas, and we talked about saying yes to what's going on, not meaning that we're okay with it, but equanimity, it is what it is. But it's like a dark cloud. I just needed to share that.
Yeah, well, it's a very large dark cloud. And I want to guarantee you're not the only one. Obviously, that's being offset by these real life experiences that are happening right now. And I just want to just preface our practice by saying that Trudy informed me that she's been offering to the group some of the principles of Tong Lin and the Atishas, as I understand it, which are 7 or 8 points that kind of bring us into a preparatory stage, looking at the principles that lead us into a real live and flourishing practice of Tong Lin, which Tong Lin, as I understand, is the practice of bringing in the discomfort, like opening to discomfort, discouragement, pain, the things that we would typically be aversive to or avoid. And we exhale the opposite. We exhale the peace, the solace, the remedy, if you will. And so that's going to be kind of like a little bit of the focus that I think I want to explore with you. I have several different ideas that have not fully formed, but I just wanted to just present this idea to you of just being open to whatever your current state is, with the idea that we have the capacity to, at a minimum, to coexist with it. And let's see if we could just expand our capacity to discover that there may be a little more capacity just to coexist, not to change it, but just to be able to coexist. Because ultimately, that's what equanimity is being able to coexist with conditions as they are in the present moment. So having said that, I would just invite you to accept the posture that you're in. And if you need to adapt to a different posture, something that will allow you to be a little bit more at ease, please do. But just keep in mind that we really just want to be present. And I want to invite you to avoid any forms of rigidity. We'll begin our practice with a very simple but pervasive quality of hearing. Using your sense door of hearing as the doorway into your own present moment. And just notice if or how you're allowing yourself to be enveloped by the sounds that are in the near field, as well as the far field of your respective environments. You may hear sounds that are being generated that you have nothing to do with at all. Can you coexist with these elements of sound that you cannot turn off or control? And I'm going to invite you now to move, or to fold in rather, feeling tones, allowing awareness to become cognizant of the tones and feelings that are within the body. Just adding that as another dimension to the practice of observing sound. Become aware of the dynamics of your own internal world, the temperatures, the vibrations, the tempo, the conditions, the signs of life that are revealing themselves in your own body. We're hearing intentionally and feeling intentionally. Exploring the feeling tones that are in different dimensions of the body, not ignoring the back and the lower under portions of the body where the hamstrings, calves, soles of the feet. Just explore as fully as you can, looking for signs of life as they show themselves. As well as how the body may be regulating itself. Perhaps moving into a more stable condition. We'll now fold in a third dimension of this meditation practice by observing the flow of respiration, hearing, feeling, and now observing the breath. We're not in a rush to become observant. We're just posturing ourselves to become aware of what arises by looking at the breath, looking at the feeling tones, and even looking at the field of sound. We're just endeavoring to align ourselves in a way that we can become aware and accepting of ourselves in the present conditions that unfold. Holding in the fourth dimension, which would be the realm of mind and thoughts. Bringing awareness to this area. We just want to observe what kind of activity is happening in the realm of mind at this time. And in this realm of mind, we can't control what comes up, but we can discern the quality of its content. And I want you to ask yourself, is the mind producing anything or offering anything or suggesting anything that is relevant to this present moment? My mind may be loud and fidgety, but is it offering anything relevant to this present moment? Is it relevant? It may be familiar, but is it relevant? It is at this juncture, by applying this type of wisdom, that we're able to discern what we take personally from what we can see through awareness itself. Can you find that thin line that differentiates awareness itself from what you're so familiar with in the realm of mind? And we will descend now into a fifth dimension or quadrant of awareness, which is centered in the heart area. Taking in what we hear, taking in what we feel, taking in the flow of respiration, being observant of the quality of mind, And we do that from the center or the core of our being, known as the heart. And I want to invite a prompt of awareness by you asking yourself, is it the things that I think that I know that are causing my discomfort? Is it the things that I think that I know that I'm so familiar with that are creating my pain? Well, maybe I can lean in a little more closely to explore and remember what I don't know. There's a forgotten door that I forgot that leads me to the pathway of possibility, where I can create some distance between what I know and what I'm familiar with, and I can explore what I don't know. Because what I know isn't helping me. What I think I know isn't supporting me. Can I feel and explore my own heart to remember and to reconnect with the importance of not needing to know, not knowing? Can I divest myself of all of what I think is important and avail myself to not knowing? Can I take some comfort in not knowing? Because there's also the possibility of some better outcome in not knowing. I just want you to remember that sometimes what we know and what we think we know doesn't serve us as much as we think it does. And that our pain and discomfort can come from relying on what we think we know. Knowing, thinking we know the outcome and how things are going to turn out and what's going to happen next. And truthfully, we don't know. Keep this door open for yourself, this door of not knowing. Because this is the doorway for a new possibility for you, for yourself. Coming into alignment with the flow of respiration, the breath as it comes in and out of the body. Reconnecting with the sense door of sound, revisiting the Vedanas or feeling tones in the body. Revisiting the realm of mind and the level of relevance that is or is not there through wisdom. And realigning with the heart itself. And the importance of the quality of not knowing. From which emerges creativity and imagination, possibilities, and even hope. And we'll slowly just come back into a collective awareness in our community without bells. Just gradually coming back to your screens. and remembering that every moment holds the potential and the possibility for something new to emerge. I want to thank you for your practice. I hope that these prompts and instructions, however you would like to categorize them or call them, were beneficial. And I would just like to invite each of you to allow yourself to take a break for about three or 4 minutes. We'll come back at the time is a little off, but we'll come back in 5 minutes, right at 10:50, and see what else is possible for the time together. Thank you so much. Well, thank you everyone for your practice again. Can you hear me okay? Yeah, great. Great. And thank you for the appreciation of the music and the meditation. I want to just say that this is not an easy time to be present with life as it unfolds moment by moment. So the attitude you may have, the ideas you may hold about yourself in terms of like your performance of how you're meeting the present moment, and you know whether you're in judgment about yourself, about you know your ideals about how you should be showing up as a person and a practitioner. I think that we need to extend ourselves some space and some more rope, if you will, just to kind of create a little, give yourself a little slack, because for our generation, and if when I say generation, I mean whoever is present here, you know, our collective generation at this time, we are seeing some very unprecedented types of dynamics and things unfolding, and yeah, it's hard to reconcile, you know, what we think, how we think we should be doing, with how we actually are doing. And the benefit of that, from my perspective, is that we have already begun a process of incorporating practices and ways of living that keep us aligned, and that's where our intention is to stay aligned with our heart, with what is true, and hopefully find ourselves able to respond compassionately to ourselves so that we can be respond compassionately to others. Which brings me to, you know, this idea that Trudy had introduced about the practices of the Atishas and Tonglen, and these things aren't things that I have employed like on a regular basis, but I really feel that some of the elements of what the Buddhist practice are offering us are helping us to unearth and to excavate some of our natural potential, ways that we have the potential to live, you know, normally, naturally. You know, compassion has the quality of being something familiar to us once we begin to practice it. You know, it's a way that we have the potential to be self-accepting. I remember at a Mind and Life conference that the Dalai Lama was in, one of the participants shared with him how he was struggling with self-hatred. And when that inquiry came to the Dalai Lama kind of struggled with it because there was no concept of the idea of self-hatred in the Tibetan culture. The idea that you don't love and accept yourself was completely foreign to him. There wasn't even a word to describe that. And this was a Western person speaking to the Dalai Lama. What am I trying to get to here? One of the things I'm really that I was really feeling impressed by was the idea that, you know, we are all kind of working with the appearances and the visual dynamics of things that we don't want to see. Pain being inflicted on other people, you know, regardless of who the people there are, it's just like there's this cataclysmic, you know, cataclysmic waves of suffering that are happening, you know, just constantly, endlessly. And they, in some cases, they are acts of nature, and in some cases, they're acts of greed and indifference. What appears to be greed and indifference. And, you know, and it's like it just takes us to the line of our own tolerance as we witness or maybe even experience these things. And one of the principles of the Atishas that I have that I've been looking at is this idea that, you know, generally people are looking for someone to blame, and as a result of that, you know, our aggression and even neurosis kind of keeps expanding. And what this Atisha is offering us is the opportunity to pause and look at what's happening with us when we are feeling that aggression, and we're looking for someone to point our finger at and say, you are the cause for this, and you need to stop it now. Or they are the cause for this experience, or, you know, so on and so forth. And what happens is that when we're looking for that person, place, or thing, we become very fixated and kind of calcified around they are the cause for this. And that just intensifies our suffering. And part of, you know, what underlies that is that we have a sense of righteousness where it's like, I know these things aren't aligned with my values, and these things should not exist because human beings aren't supposed to be this way, and so on and so forth. But it is awareness itself, awareness of our tendency to have that as a first response. The awareness of our own patterns of responsiveness or reactivity. And what's really interesting is that there is not only a pattern that we have, but there's a pattern that exists in the world that is ages old, where some person, place, or thing arises that appears to just have no regard for human life, human ways of life, human well-being of nature, you know, just the natural order of things, the way that we feel things should be. And when these people, places, or things arise, it's just daunting, you know, and we forget that there is a pattern, that there has always been a person, place, or thing that has arisen, that has disturbed the natural order of things. What am I getting to here? Where my heart has been the past several several days was I was able to revisit a truth about myself. And I was able to revisit this truth about myself in terms of like a role I've held, like something that I am naturally. And I got this visitation by watching Reverend Al Sharpton on YouTube a few days ago. And as you know, he's the president of the National Action Network, and it's very, very steeped and deeply involved in civil rights and, you know, responding to injustice and so forth. But I was watching him preach a sermon at some church down in the South. And as typical, you know, he was very, very powerful, very clear, very, very much pointed around some of the topics that he was addressing in his sermon. And in that moment, I was able to not only kind of feel a sense of rejuvenation and inspiration, but I was also able to see like, oh my God, you know, this man is kind of representing where I came from before I came into the practice of the Dharma and meditation, because I was also a preacher coming out of the Baptist church. And then, and just for a few moments, I was just able to remember what got me on the spiritual path in the first place. And in that process of remembering, I was able to remember just some of the basic things that helped me to have a sense of awareness of what is happening in the world. And one of the things that he had mentioned in his discourse was that with all of the suffering that's happening on the planet, all of the discomfort, all of the rage, all of the pain, all of the suffering, if you look at the solar system and the constellation, the stars and the planets seem to be held by a certain order where they consistently stay in alignment. Now that's juxtaposed as to what our experience is here on Earth, relationally amongst ourselves as human beings. But in the wider circle of things, planets aren't crashing into each other. You know, things are staying in balance and in harmony in the overall picture. And by seeing that and revisiting that, I was able to just reconnect with the idea that, yeah, things are out of alignment. But on another level, things are very much in order. And it helped me to see that there is some sense of order in this random disorder that we're experiencing here. Another thing that that I was able to revisit was the underlying principle that for people who have been involved in the civil rights movements and people who've come from faith-based organizations, there was a principle that offered them a lens about what is undergirding them as they get involved with suffering. And this principle comes from a New Testament book called Ephesians. And in that book, there's a verse that says that our struggle is not against flesh and blood or against other human beings. But there are powers and principalities, and even what are known as or described as spiritual wickedness in high places. And these are the things that undergird these people, places, things, and events that unfold in our natural human experience. These things that disrupt the natural order of things come from a different order, a different level. And what that does, what it invites is a way to get involved with change without demonizing the person. By having a sense of awareness about the dynamics of a situation, understanding that there's some other things that are influencing these experiences that we're having. And I was able to remember that and to see that, okay, through the lens of awareness, this is something I can reconnect with, because over the generations and over time, we've had one being or organization after another that has arisen, that has become very prominent on the world stage, who has embodied disruption. Hitler was one. Mussolini was another. They embodied so many of the ideals that were going to displace and create harm for other beings and basically disrupt the natural order of things. That ties to this idea that our struggle isn't against an individual person. Donald Trump, if you will, is the newest iteration of that embodiment that is that appears to represent a full-blown disorder, a disruption to the natural order of things the way that we desire them to be. The abrasive that rubs up against our values. And the reminder for me was that we wrestle not against flesh and blood. There's something underlying that. And all I was able to do was to see the possibility that I could remember some of the things I had learned from the Christian tradition, and to bring them into a tighter focus with my insight awareness practice. And just to remember that there's something, there are principles that underlie, that allow these people, places, and things to arise over and over and over again, which are tied to powers and principalities and what are called wickedness in high places. This current time, there is a wave of authoritarianism and fascism being represented by various governments across the planet. And it seems to be a surge. This isn't the first time this has happened. In the history of the earth, we've had this manifestation before. But my awareness is asking, what is it that how can I align with my values understanding that there is some order of things that are happening that allow, that permit these manifestations that are counter to my values and your values to show themselves over and over again. How can I, as a practitioner, as someone that's committed to love and compassion, who wants to see the truth of things, how can I be a little bit more observant? How can I be a little wiser, understanding, so that I don't have to become fixated on the individual, but I can have a wider sense of awareness about the underlying principles that may be at play. I think one of the things is about awareness practice is that when we're allowed to see something, we can't unsee it. And this is one of the things that I've been allowed to see. I'm able to see that although there is destruction and disruption happening in my real-time experience on the planet, that there also is a perpetuity of harmony that coexists with this current experience. And not just in the stars, but just in the natural plane of our human experience amongst people, amongst nature. You know, these things are there's this invitation to coexist. And I hope I hope my points that I'm attempting or endeavoring to make are maybe are landing in a way that at least prompts some curiosity. But it's a idea that's just currently in play with me, and yeah, I'm just looking at I'm endeavoring to look at these experiences that we are all having, looking at different ways that spiritual traditions have endeavored to reconcile the truth of a situation, you know, in real time. The Tonglen practice invites us to find the courage to be able to breathe in or to take in that which is abrasive, that which is against our values, that which could be painful, discomforting. That is an avenue of practice that is available to us. But if we're going to explore practicing in that way, I feel that having a wider perspective about the nature of what gives rise to these unpleasant, abrasive, discomforting people, places, and things is beneficial, because then we become a willing participant in engaging the unpleasant in the Tonglen practice. as opposed to feeling coerced or manipulated or forced to do it. But understanding, just creating a bigger space to stand so that we can actually see clearly what we are working with and what allows these unpleasantries to exist, where they come from. What is the real nature of this game that we're playing? Yeah. How can we engage in this in a way that we're really seeing things clearly? I just want to say, I think this has been one of the harder topics I've presented here. And I'm feeling it myself. But I can't unsee what I see. And I've been aware of how I've been informed by this lens that I have about the dynamics of the world for a long time. But this current time, with the pressures that exist, I think I've been asked to revisit it. So I'm not fixated on the personalities as much. One of the last things I'll share is that the civil rights movements of the 60s and forward, the people that were involved in those, particularly people coming from the faith communities and Black communities and so forth, and other communities that joined with them, they were informed deeply by these particular perspectives, which allowed them to endure suffering, understanding that it wasn't about the person themselves that were inflicting the harm or suffering, but that there was something underneath it. There was something undergirding it, which is what they were really struggling with. They understood that they weren't in a straight out fight with Bill Connor or Bull Connor or David Duke. It wasn't about them. There was something underneath it. And this is it. This is what enabled them to endure the suffering while still being willing to love and to not hate and to not respond with violence. This is the undergirding principle of most nonviolent action organizations and principles, which is what Dr. King's work was really deeply rooted in. But he was also a Baptist preacher who also understood Ephesians chapter 6, which said that we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers and even spiritual wickedness in high places. And it's just the principle I wanted to introduce here, or maybe remind some of you of, just to show what were the principles that allowed them to endure very difficult times. This is what I was reminded of this week. And I was also reminded that I too am a preacher this week. So this is familiar territory for me, but I wanted to just say thank you. We have some time to offer feedback and questions or reflections, and Yeah, I'd be happy to hear you, but I really wanted to offer this with the intent of just dropping a seed that will maybe inspire you to look at these current situations differently, just a little differently. Because this isn't the first time the earth has seen this level of disruption, and it won't be the last. But maybe we can see these dynamics with a different lens, if you will.